Good evening, everyone. It is the 7th of April, so this is going to be my April shop tour. It's going to be a little of a quick tour. Not that things haven't been going on in the shop lately, but I am in the throes of wrapping up this quilt rack, and I don't really have all that much time to shoot video or edit video tonight, so let's get things started. Here in the corner, not much going on. It's relatively empty. There'll be a little bit more improvement, but that's been cleaned out since the last tour. There's my new Steel City bandsaw, which the guys over at Steel City were nice enough to send me. I have yet to really put it through its paces. When this project's done, I plan to devote a little bit of time to it, get it properly set up, and really put it through its paces. Here, what I'm tripping over is what used to hold my planer. It's just a quick little stand I made. It's a really inefficient use of space, but it's rock solid and strong as hell, and I've been using it just as a counter and moving it around, and I sit on it sometimes, and it just holds stuff. So I haven't yet brought myself to throw it out yet, though that's really what I should do to save space. Here on the table saw is the quilt rack. This is Lil's quilt rack. It's my third quilt rack. This one is the first one that's going to a real quilter. I guess the one that went to my mother-in-law, she makes quilts too, but Lil makes hundreds of quilts. She's turning 90. This is going to be her 90th birthday present. And she's the kind of person who, every time there's a new member of the family born, she makes a quilt for them. I think she's made some Sweet 16 quilts. She is the quilter in the family. So it's kind of inspired by some blades of grass. You can see from the side profile. And you got the rear and middle legs are made of walnut. The front legs and the shelf are made of curly maple. And the shelf is designed to have a fourth quilt folded up kind of on display from the shelf. If you want more about the quilt, I've got plenty of posts on it, and we'll continue posting on it until I get through the entire build and design process. So that's the quilt rack as it stands now. Tonight it should be receiving its first coat of finish. Moving past the quilt rack, we've got my wall cabinets. This is my old rolling stand, which I have my planer and drill press squeezed onto, and the drill press just narrowly fits in there between the two stands. So far, so good. I'm liking it. I was a little anxious about whether or not both tools would work, and I will admit to not having used the drill press yet on this stand, but I don't use the drill press that often, and the planer is working out just fine on it. It pulls out, I can use it, pushes back away, fairly efficient use of the space. I've still got access to those drawers and the shelves in the back. Moving past all my Festool storage, and you see Festool cases around because I haven't cleaned up from making the quilt rack. If you're making something that's rounded and sculpted like that, some of these sanders come in, they're really, really handy. Especially the interface pads they make let you do rounded surfaces really well. But back here, the workbench is pulled off the wall a bit. I found that with the joiner, the workbench kind of tucks back there behind it, but I was joining some long pieces for the quilt rack actually, and they were banging against the workbench. So I had to pull the workbench out here. When the project's done, the workbench will go away. The joiner is absolutely functional. I'm loving it, but you can see it's a bit off the wall. Let me come back this way. You can see how far out it sticks. It's a bitch to reach over. What I have down over here on this side are some casters, and when I scrape up a little bit of money, I'm going to get a custom mobile base welded together that will let me push it tight up against the wall. And I'll win about half or 3/4 of the space it's sticking out now. It'll go when it goes against the wall. So that's the joiner, and then I'll get my workbench back in the corner. Back here again, it's just tool cases from the project I'm in the middle of. I need to do a decent cleanup when I'm done with the quilt rack. So my clamps over there. Someday I'm going to really write up those clamp racks. I think they were fantastic, but I'll just tease you with them now. Lumber storage is as it was. The miter saw is as it was. This wing serves as a ubiquitous shelf. There's a clock I need to repair for a friend of mine. You can see the damage over here. So I picked up some stains and dyes, and I need to make a little patch, dye it, and stick it in. And that shouldn't be all that long a project. It's going to take longer than it should, but it should go pretty quickly. But that's something I need to do once the quilt rack is done. Coming over here, got my old bandsaw, some birdhouses we made with the Cub Scouts, and my router table. There's something that doesn't live in the shop usually. That's got to go back up in the attic. One thing I hope to do in the shop, once I'm cleaned up and have recovered from the quilt rack, is put the next tool in. And I'm not sure if that's going to be my drum sander or my router table. I have both not yet assembled. I picked the drum sander up a couple years ago, and it has sat in my attic since then. And the router table, I've picked up little pieces here and there. I have a really nice table, a really nice fence, and a dedicated router for it. I need to build something to rest them all on, but I'm not sure which of those two tools will be the next thing I set up in here. I also need to go down to one bandsaw, clear up a little space. But in any event, that is where we stand here for the April shop tour. Just wrapping up the quilt rack project, and then I'll get back into some work on the shop itself. Thanks for watching.